Marks 20 years since September 11th, 2001, when terrorists attacked America. They hijacked 4 commercial airplanes, crashing 2 into the World Trade Center towers, the Pentagon, and a field in Pennsylvania. This week, we're honoring the thousands of lives lost and remembering the impact that's been felt around the country and, of course, here in Northeast Wisconsin. Our very own Joshua Peguero grew up in Manhattan, and he witnessed the chaos that took place that day. And we want to get your memories, Josh, of what that was like. So how old were you and what were you doing on September 11th?
So I was a freshman in high school. I had just started a math and science high school, which is located right there.
Okay, so this is your high school right here?
This is my high school. It was the second day.
All right, so for point of reference, down here are the World Trade Centers, but this is where you were when it happened.
That's right, yeah, and it was the second day of school. Very nervous, you know, like the whole jitters of starting a new classroom.
High school.
High school. We had went to school at around 7:30 to be there to just get your homerooms assigned. And I just remember like a few minutes into that, it was like around 8:15 Eastern Standard Time or 8:10 was when we started hearing a lot of noise, because my high school is located on the East River, which is next to the FDR Drive, which is all very, it's a highway that pretty much goes from the very tip of Manhattan all the way down to the very bottom of it, as you can see, FDR Drive. And so we just started hearing all these sirens. And then after that, we were told, hey, we need you to evacuate, go over this bridge, which is just you go over the highway directly onto the river, so to speak. It's like a river walk that people used to like jog.
So when you were told to evacuate, do you remember, did they tell you why?
No, they didn't tell us why. There was no why throughout the whole experience. They never said why you need to evacuate, why there was all this noise happening. We never got any of that.
So what did you see?
So when we went over the river, I just remember we looked up, and for some, I don't know how to explain it, because just looking at a map, you see it's like so far in terms of the reference points. But I just remember when we looked up, a few of my classmates, we just saw the second tower fall. We didn't see it like, we weren't so close to see it when it hit the bottom.
Sure, but you could see it tumble from the
top.
top.
Yeah, you could see the tumble at the top, and you see a plume of smoke go up.
So you could see that from the bus here. Now, the other thing we want to point out, while you're trying to figure all this out, and you see that, this is where your mom worked, which is, what, 10, 12 blocks?
Yeah, she worked super close. She worked for the city of New York. She was a park ranger for the city of New York, and she was right there. And I interviewed her twice already, and we spoke. And this is something, I only spoke to her for this segment. It's not something we talk about, and even during the conversation.
Has she ever talked about it?
No, she just says she doesn't like recollecting that experience. And, yeah.
So before we get to her recollections, I'm curious what it felt like. One, you don't know what's going on. You can see the tower fall, and you know your mom works nearby. So what do you remember what your emotions were like?
I mean, I was scared. You just you know, you tear up a little bit, and you're scared, and you also have the jitters of starting high school. So you're going through that experience, and you don't know anyone there. Right. And so I just remember trying to call my mom on a phone. It was an actual pay phone, and it wasn't working. We would just get like a busy tone, and I just didn't know. It was a lot of unknowns, and there wasn't social media back then, so there wasn't like this message going out about what's happening.
You didn't have a cell phone.
I didn't have a cell phone. Yes.
Okay, so what happened? They put you on a bus, and then did they work your way home, or? Yeah.
Well,
what happened?
What happened was my mom had called my aunt. I wasn't on the bus. My mom called my aunt, and my aunt, who had a vehicle, which is considered a luxury in New York. Anyway, she had a vehicle, and so she came and picked us up. And then she informed us, hey, your mom is working down there. There was a terrorist attack. I don't know if you saw it. And we were like, what? They were like, yeah, there was a terrorist attack. The Twin Towers were knocked down. And we were all just scared, and it was a sense of panic.
So at least you were able to find out from your aunt right away that your mom was okay. And so then what did she do, your mom?
Yeah, so I interviewed her for this. What she did was that she went to work an hour early. She was scheduled to go to work at 9 in the morning. She got there at 8, and she said she was in the locker room just chit-chatting with her friends, and they heard a large explosion, a large boom. And then they were like, oh, what's that? And then a few minutes later, they heard another one. And that's when their boss said, hey, we need you all to evacuate. And my mom says when she left, because she was so close, she said she saw one of the Twin Towers on fire and that people were jumping off the building.
So where did she go?
She ended up going to assisting with helping people that were bleeding. They were putting her in the building that she worked at. The American Red Cross ended up taking the building over. And then she didn't get home until she didn't leave work until 7 o'clock at night. And it was because one of the train lines was open to help evacuate people from downtown Manhattan. And she just said, I remember it was so crowded that I just pushed myself into the train, got off on Times Square, and then just took a bus home.
So you mentioned your mom doesn't like to recollect, or you haven't talked about this very much in the ensuing 20 years. What did you learn maybe from your conversations with your mom about 9/11 that maybe you didn't know before?
That's a good question. I would say that there's still some lingering trauma that some people have, but also just about how other New Yorkers were helping each other out. She was saying, yeah, you know, the next day I went to work to just help some of the victims that were there. And it was just a sense of we're all going to come together and get through this.
All right, all week we're going to be taking a look at the many ways the attacks impacted our area and how 9/11 forever changed our country. Jeff Alexander putting these stories together. They are airing on Action 2 News every night at 6 o'clock. You can also watch them at WBAY.com.